Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Kennedy half-dollar coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. There are some coins in the world of numismatics that carry not just monetary value, but a deep story that collectors crave to discover, and the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar is one of them. If you're a collector, a coin hunter, or someone who stumbled across a half-dollar in your change and wondered, could this be special, then you've landed in the right place. Because in this video, we're diving deep into the unique charm, the rarity, the possible hidden errors, and the true collector's value of the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar. Don't go anywhere, because some of the facts I'm going to share might just leave you stunned. If you've got one of these coins sitting in a drawer or tucked away in a collection, this could be the day you find out it's worth far more than just 50 cents. So stick around and listen closely, because coin lovers, this one's for you. Let's begin by traveling back to the year 1992. The United States Mint was producing coins with both modern technology and old-fashioned precision. The Kennedy half-dollar had already become an American classic. First minted in 1964 in memory of President John F. Kennedy, the coin quickly became a symbol of honor and remembrance. By 1992, although the coin was no longer made with silver for circulation, it still held an important place in U.S. currency. But what makes the 1992 version so special? You see, while millions of these coins were minted, not all 1992 Kennedy half-dollars are the same. Some carry silent secrets. Minted at Philadelphia and Denver for circulation, and also specially struck in San Francisco for collectors, there are versions of this coin that are extremely valuable today, not because of their face value, but because of the way they were made and preserved. Now here's where things start to get interesting. The 1992 Kennedy half-dollar was produced in both business strike and proof strike versions. But what really gets collectors excited is the 1992's silver proof. Yes, that's right, silver. Unlike the regular copper-nickel-clad versions that were meant for circulation, the 1992's silver-proof Kennedy half-dollar was minted in 90% silver, and only for collectors. These weren't found in pocket change, but in special collector's sets issued by the U.S. Mint. And today, if kept in pristine condition, these coins can fetch a price that's absolutely thrilling for any coin enthusiast. But let's talk about rarity. What actually makes a 1992 Kennedy half-dollar rare? Well, rarity can come from low mintage numbers, special finishes, or minting errors. And lucky for collectors, the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar has all of those qualities in play. Let's first take a look at mintages. The Philadelphia Mint struck a little over 17 million of these coins. Denver minted about 11 million. But the 1992's proof versions? Just under 3 million made. And when we zoom in even further to the 1992's silver proof, we're looking at around 1.3 million. That's not a lot when you consider the size of the coin collecting world, and here's the thrilling part, not every one of those coins survived in perfect condition. Some were damaged, lost, or mishandled. That makes well-preserved examples even more desirable. And when you add in possible minting errors, that's when things really heat up. Collectors have reported several error types in the 1992 Kennedy half-dollar series. Some of the known errors include off-center strikes, double die obverse errors where Kennedy's profile shows doubling in the details, and even planchet errors where the coin was struck on the wrong type of blank. Imagine finding a 1992 Kennedy half-dollar struck on a quarter blank. That's the kind of mistake that can send a coin's value soaring into the hundreds or even thousands depending on the condition and the nature of the error. And here's a real collector's tip: always look closely at the lettering on these coins. A sharp eye can spot a double die in areas like the word Liberty or In God We Trust. Even slight doubling can make the coin far more valuable to the right buyer. Now let's talk about something every collector needs to hear: condition is everything. Whether it's a regular strike or a rare silver proof, the condition your coin is in can drastically change its value. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC, especially those with grades of MS67 and above, can command premium prices in the collector market. So here's a tip: if you think you've got a 1992 Kennedy half dollar that's in especially good shape, no scratches, sharp details, strong luster, it's worth sending it in for grading. You might just be sitting on something that's worth a lot more than 50 cents. Another point to keep in mind is storage. Protect your coins. Air exposure, fingerprints, and moisture can damage the surface of your coin. If you've got a silver-proof version, make sure it's kept in a secure, airtight capsule. That silver surface is beautiful but sensitive. Collectors across the world love the Kennedy half dollar not just for its design, but for the powerful history it represents. President Kennedy's image on the coin has remained unchanged for decades, and the 1992 version still carries the full elegance and respect of that legacy. The obverse shows a strong, proud profile of JFK, while the reverse features the presidential seal with bold, rich details that shine beautifully when well preserved. What makes the 1992 Kennedy half dollar especially thrilling for collectors is that it's a bridge between old and new. It's a modern coin, but it was struck at a time when quality was still a priority and silver was still occasionally being used for proofs. That combination of modern rarity and nostalgic value is what drives so many collectors to seek out this exact year. If you're just getting into coin collecting, the Kennedy half dollar series is a great place to start. It's full of variety, history, and opportunities for exciting discoveries. And the 1992 coin sits right at the heart of that adventure. The thrill of finding a rare variety or an unexpected error in your collection is what makes this hobby so addictive. Some people search for years before coming across a silver proof in perfect condition or a double die error that truly sets their collection apart. It's not just about the money, it's about the hunt, the learning, and the passion that drives coin lovers all around the world. And now, let's talk about value. The original market value of the 1992 Kennedy half dollar, especially the regular clad circulation versions, was simply 50 cents. That's all it was worth when it left the mint. But today, depending on condition, errors, and silver content, the price can be dramatically different. A 1992 silver-proof Kennedy half dollar in perfect condition has sold for as much as $70 or more. And that's not even considering rare error varieties. If you've got a coin with a known minting error in excellent condition, you could be looking at prices in the hundreds or even beyond that. For example, a double die obverse error in MS condition has the potential to sell for several $100s depending on the market demand. And I appeal, the bottom line is this: don't overlook any Kennedy half dollar, especially the ones from 1992. Take a second look. Use a magnifier. Check for errors. If it's silver, if it's shiny, if it's got a story to tell, it might just be worth a lot more than you think. Collectors, coin lovers, and history enthusiasts alike all have a reason to appreciate the beauty and value of the 1992 Kennedy half dollar. It's more than just a coin. It's a piece of American memory. It's a symbol of pride. And for the lucky few who find that one rare error or that flawless silver proof, it could also be a hidden treasure. So keep your eyes open, protect your finds, and never stop learning. Because the world of coins is filled with surprises, and sometimes, those surprises come in the form of a half dollar that once seemed ordinary, but turns out to be extraordinary. Top 2. What you're about to hear is going to completely change the way you look at that 1998 Kennedy half dollar you may have in your hands or in your drawer or tucked away in a dusty old coin folder, because this is not just another 50-cent piece. This is a window into a world of rarity, beauty, and possibly serious collector value. So if you're someone who loves coins or is even just a little curious about what makes some coins more valuable than others, you are in for a treat today, because I'm about to walk you through the story of the 1998 Kennedy half dollar, its hidden features, the rare errors that can send its value skyrocketing, and why this coin still holds a strong position in the hearts of serious collectors all over the country and beyond. So listen very carefully and don't miss a second, because the secret might just be lying in your own coin collection right now, waiting to be discovered. Let's rewind time for a moment and head back to the year 1998, a time when the world was transitioning into a new digital age, but the United States Mint was still crafting coins the traditional way with history precision and a little bit of magic. The Kennedy half-dollar was already a collector's favorite by then, having been in circulation for over 30 years since its emotional debut in 1964 as a tribute to the late President John F. Kennedy. Now by 1998 this coin had seen many changes, but it had also preserved its timeless design and remained one of the most iconic pieces of American coinage. But don't let that fool you into thinking all 1998 Kennedy half-dollars are the same, because trust me, they are not. In fact, some of them have turned out to be extremely rare and valuable, especially when you know exactly what to look for. So whether you've got one coin or a whole roll, stick with me, because I'm about to reveal some tips and secrets that even some experienced collectors might not know about. In 1998 the Kennedy half-dollar was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Now here's where it gets interesting. While the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced regular business strike coins for circulation, the San Francisco Mint created proof versions that were meant specifically for collectors, and that's where the rarity really begins to show itself. Among these there is a special kind of proof that wasn't made with the standard copper nickel-clad material. No, it was made in 90% silver, and it was only included in the silver proof sets sold by the U.S. Mint. Now these coins were never meant to be spent or used in everyday change. They were struck with extra care, sharper detail, and a mirror-like finish that makes them sparkle like little works of art. And if you've got one of these in perfect condition, it's not just a beautiful coin, it's a valuable one. But here's where it gets even more exciting, because even within these proof coins and regular business strikes, there are error coins out there, and these are the treasures that collectors dream about. Imagine finding a 1998 Kennedy half-dollar with a double die obverse where you can see a faint but clear doubling in the letters of Liberty or I. In God we trust, that kind of minting mistake is not supposed to happen, but when it does, it creates an instant rarity, and these kinds of coins can be worth far more than you'd ever expect, especially when they're discovered early and preserved properly. Some other known errors include off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and missing clad layers. And if you happen to stumble upon one of these with strong eye appeal and minimal damage, then congratulations, because you're holding a piece of numismatic gold. These are the coins that don't just sit in a folder, they're the ones that go to auctions, get certified by top grading companies, and become the crown jewels of private collections across the country. Now I want to share something very important for new and experienced collectors alike. If you've got a 1998 Kennedy half-dollar, whether it's a proof or a circulation strike, the very first thing you should do is examine it closely under a strong light, maybe even a magnifying glass. You'll want to look carefully at the edges, the lettering, the mint mark, and the condition of the strike. The more detail you see, the better, because sharp, clear strikes mean higher grade coins, and higher grades usually mean higher value. Another pro tip is to keep your coins clean, but never try to clean them yourself. I can't stress this enough. Improper cleaning can destroy a coin's value faster than anything else. Instead, always handle them by the edges and store them in protective holders or airtight capsules, especially if you think you've got something special. And if you're unsure, take your coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC and let them give you an expert evaluation. And collectors, listen up, because this is crucial if you're building a Kennedy half-dollar collection. The 1998 coin is a key date. Not because of a super low mintage, but because it falls in a period where both clad and silver proofs were produced, and where error coins have started to become more widely documented. So having one or more of these in top condition can really boost the quality and the value of your collection. Also, don't forget to check the finish on your proof coins. There's a deep cameo version where the design looks frosty and the background is mirror bright. And if your coin has this kind of contrast and it's free of spots or scratches, then you're holding something truly premium, and that kind of visual appeal makes a big difference to collectors and buyers. The Kennedy half-dollar has always carried emotional weight with collectors because of what it represents: a moment in American history, the memory of a fallen president, and a design that has stood the test of time. And in 1998 that legacy continued with a beautiful blend of craftsmanship, history, and hidden potential. And now more than ever, these coins are being appreciated not just for their looks but for their increasing value on the collector's market. And here's something really fascinating: even today, collectors and treasure hunters are still discovering rare 1998 Kennedy half-dollars tucked inside coin rolls, estate sales, flea markets, and even pocket change. Imagine the thrill of opening a bank-wrapped roll and spotting a coin with an unusual strike or that gorgeous mirror finish that you just know is a proof, and the joy of realizing it's Worth far more than you ever imagined. That's what makes this hobby so incredible. It's like a never-ending treasure hunt where anyone can get lucky if they pay close enough attention. For many collectors, the 1998 Kennedy half-dollar serves as a bridge between the classic older designs and the more modern versions that came after. The detail, the weight, the balance, and the design, it all just feels right in your hand. And when you combine that beauty with the real possibility of a high-value error or proof, you've got a coin that collectors will keep chasing for generations to come. So as we wrap up, let me say this: if you come across a 1998 Kennedy half-dollar, don't ignore it, don't toss it aside as just another coin. Instead, take the time to study it, hold it up to the light, feel the texture, and respect the history it carries, because this coin is more than just metal. It's a part of the American story, and maybe, just maybe, it's the coin that will turn your curiosity into a lifelong passion. Now you might be wondering, what's the original value of the 1998 Kennedy half-dollar? And the answer is simple: the face value of this coin when it was first released was 50 cents. That's right, just half a dollar. But today, depending on its condition, rarity, and whether it's a proof or an error coin, it could be worth far, far more than that. And for some lucky collectors, the journey starts with just one coin. Top 3. We dive into one of the most overlooked yet fascinating pieces of American coinage, the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar. This isn't just another coin with a president's face on it. This is a piece of hidden treasure, a coin that many people pass by without realizing just how much history, value, and rare potential it holds. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through why the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar deserves your full attention, what makes it special, what kind of rare errors exist in this coin, and why collectors all over the country are keeping their eyes peeled for just the right version of it. So if you're a collector, if you love hunting for coins, or if you've ever found yourself holding a Kennedy half-dollar and wondering, is this one worth more than face value, you absolutely need to stay with me till the end of this video, because I'm going to open your eyes to something that's hiding in plain sight. Now let's go back to the early 1980s, a time of change in America. The economy was shifting. Styles were changing, but one thing that remained consistent was the Kennedy half-dollar still being struck every year, still proudly showing the face of John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, and the reverse still featured the strong, iconic image of the presidential seal, a design that carried with it both elegance and power. But by 1983, something interesting had happened in the world of coin production that would make this year's half-dollar stand out in more ways than one. You see, in 1982 and 1983, the United States Mint did not produce any official mint sets. That's important, very important, because that means there were fewer collector-grade coins saved directly from the mint during those years, fewer untouched coins, fewer perfect examples going into protected storage. That means most of the 1983 Kennedy half-dollars that exist today were coins that went directly into circulation. They were handled, spent, dropped, passed around, and worn down, and that makes finding a clean, sharp, uncirculated 1983 Kennedy half-dollar surprisingly difficult. And that's the kind of thing collectors pay attention to now. When we talk about mint marks, there are two that matter for 1983: the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint. The Philadelphia coins come without a mint mark, while the Denver coins show the classic D mark. And while both are valuable in high grades, it's the condition that plays the most critical role here, because of the lack of mint sets from that year. High grade versions, especially those graded MS66 or better by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC, are incredibly rare. And when I say rare, I mean prices for the top population coins can be shockingly high, and that alone gives the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar a huge spotlight in the collector world. But here's where it gets even more exciting, because beyond the low availability of mint state coins, we also have confirmed error coins from 1983, and this is where your journey as a collector gets a whole lot more thrilling. Now imagine this: you pick up a 1983 Kennedy half-dollar and something looks off. Maybe the letters seem doubled, maybe the coin looks slightly off-center, or maybe the entire surface has a strange texture and shine that doesn't match other coins. These are not manufacturing defects, they're minting errors, and they can turn an ordinary 50-cent piece into a small fortune in the hands of the right buyer. One of the most well-known error types in the 1983 Kennedy half-dollar is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin die used to stamp the front of the coin shifts slightly and creates a doubling effect, often seen in the lettering such as Liberty or I In God We Trust. If you notice a shadow-like doubling in those areas, don't ignore it. That might be a double die, and collectors will often pay a premium for strong examples, especially when certified and authenticated. Another exciting error to look for is the off-center strike. This is exactly what it sounds like. The coin is not centered properly during the strike and part of the design is missing or shifted to one side depending on how dramatic the error is and how visible the date remains. It can increase the coin's value dramatically, especially if it's combined with other rare traits like full luster or a high grade. And let's not forget about missing clad layers. These happen when the coin is missing part of its outer nickel layer and the copper core underneath is exposed. You might see a strange reddish tone or an uneven surface, and if that layer is missing on either the obverse or reverse, you've potentially got a very rare variety on your hands, especially from a year like 1983 when fewer coins were preserved. Now, if you're a coin collector, here's something you absolutely need to remember about 1983 Kennedy half dollars. If you're lucky enough to find one that's still in brilliant uncirculated condition with no visible wear, strong strikes and sharp details, then you should absolutely consider sending it in for grading, because high-grade examples, especially from Denver, have sold for hundreds and in some cases even more. And the reason again comes back to supply and demand. Low supply of mint state coins plus high demand from collectors equals high value. Another tip for collectors: always check the edges of your coins. The edge can tell you a lot. If you see unusual coloring or the edge appears uneven, that might be a clue to a missing layer error or another rare variety. Also look closely at the mint mark. If you're holding a 1983 Kennedy half dollar, see if the mint mark looks like it's been punched more than once. Sometimes repunched mint marks or RPMs show clear doubling, and collectors love these little quirks that tell a deeper story about the coin's creation. The beauty of collecting Kennedy half dollars, especially from the early 80s, is that each coin is like a puzzle piece from history, and the 1983 version carries more than just the image of JFK. It carries the weight of a year where fewer pristine examples were made available to collectors, and that scarcity is what gives this coin so much power today in the marketplace. It's not just about how old a coin is, it's about how hard it is to find a perfect one, and when it comes to 1983, that challenge is real. Now here's something that makes this hobby even more exciting: many of these coins are still out there waiting to be discovered. They're sitting in old coin jars, rolls from the bank coin machines, even pocket change from a gas station. And if you have a trained eye and the patience to hunt, you just might find one. And trust me, that moment of discovery when you realize you're holding a rare high-grade or error coin in your palm is one of the best feelings in the world for a coin collector. Collectors across the country are starting to pay more attention to the early 1980s half dollars, and 1983 is near the top of the list, especially because the demand keeps growing, but the supply is not increasing. Those coins aren't being made anymore, and the number of surviving high-grade examples is fixed, and that fixed number combined with growing demand means one thing: rising value. So if you already have one, take care of it, and if you don't have one yet, keep searching, because it might not be long before prices rise even further. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or someone just starting out in the world of coin collecting, remember this: the 1983 Kennedy half dollar is more than just an old coin. It's an opportunity, it's a challenge, it's a treasure waiting to be found. And if you play your cards right, learn what to look for, and keep your eyes open, you could be the next person to uncover a rare piece of American history that everyone else overlooked. And if you're wondering what was the original market value of this beautiful 1983 Kennedy half dollar when it was first released, it was simply worth 50 cents. That's all, half a dollar. But now it's worth in today's collector market, especially with rare errors or high grades, can be many times that for the right coin in the right condition in front of the right buyer. Top 4. Alright coin lovers, let me take you deep into the world of the 1981 Kennedy half dollar. This is not just a story about a coin, it's a story about mystery, rarity, hidden value, and a rich piece of American history that's often overlooked by the average eye. But if you're a collector or even just someone who enjoys the thrill of treasure hunting, what you're about to hear might just change how you look at the change sitting in your own drawer. Because the 1981 Kennedy half dollar has more going on beneath the surface than most people realize, and today I'm going to guide you through every little detail that makes this coin a hidden gem, from mint marks to rare errors to collector secrets. And trust me, by the end you're going to want to check your coin jar. So don't blink, don't skip, because this coin story is full of the kind of secrets collectors dream about, and one small detail could mean the difference between an ordinary coin and a true treasure. So stay with me till the end, because you never know what you might have right in your own hands. Let's step back into 1981, a year full of change in the United States. Inflation was high, interest rates were soaring, and the country was in a different kind of economic battle. But through all of that, the U.S. Mint continued doing what it had done for decades, creating coins that would carry history from one generation to the next, and the Kennedy half dollar was no exception. Since 1964, this coin had honored the memory of President John F. Kennedy standing tall among American coinage, and by 1981 it had already built a legacy of both beauty and prestige. But here's where things get interesting. You see, the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar was not a regular coin you'd find everywhere. By this point the coin was no longer widely circulated in day-to-day use. The mint was still producing it, yes, but mostly for collectors and special sets, so that right there tells us something. This coin wasn't just minted to be spent, it was minted to be remembered. And that's part of what gives it its power today in the world of collectors. There were three main mints producing the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar that year: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Now here's the part collectors really pay attention to. The Philadelphia and Denver coins were business strikes. They were made for circulation, but they weren't circulated heavily, which means a lot of them didn't survive in perfect condition. They were tossed into drawers, left in pockets, or handled without care. And that kind of treatment means it's tough to find high-grade examples today, and that rarity adds serious value, especially for collectors who specialize in condition and strike quality. But the real magic starts when you look at the San Francisco Mint, because in 1981 they didn't just produce regular coins, they made proof coins. These were not meant for everyday use, they were struck with incredible precision and extra care, resulting in a mirror-like surface and frosted details that practically glow in the light. The 1981's Kennedy half-dollar proof was included only in proof sets, and here's the real shocker: that was the final year before the mint would stop producing proofs for general sale and only make them in limited sets again. That makes 1981 a closing chapter in a big part of Kennedy coin history, and that alone makes it highly collectible. But we're not stopping there, because now we get to the thrilling part: the errors. Yes, you heard me right, the 1981 Kennedy half-dollar has some known errors that can drastically boost its value, and these errors aren't just slight imperfections. We're talking about rare anomalies that make collectors' hearts race, the kind of discoveries that can turn a 50-cent coin into a coin worth hundreds or more if properly authenticated and preserved. One of the most talked about errors is the double die obverse. This is when the die used to strike the coin shifts just slightly between strikes, causing the lettering or parts of Kennedy's face to appear doubled. Now that might sound like a small thing, but to collectors that kind of doubling, especially if it's strong and visible in words like liberty or I and God we trust, can mean a huge increase in value. It's rare, it's sought after, and if you have one in great condition, you've got something truly special. Another error to watch for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is not perfectly aligned during striking and a portion of the design ends up missing or pushed to one side. These errors are visually stunning and highly collectible, especially when the date is still fully visible. Collectors love these because they're dramatic. You can spot them instantly, and they tell a real story of something going wrong at the mint in a way that makes a coin truly one of a kind. There are also known issues like filled mint marks, where the letter representing the mint looks blurry or deformed. This can happen when the die used to punch the mint mark gets clogged or worn, and while it's a small detail, it's another one that collectors seek out because it separates one coin from another in a very personal way. Every error tells its own story, and every collector wants that story in their collection. So if you've got a 1981 Kennedy half-dollar, here's what you need to do. First, check the condition. Look for luster, sharp details, clean surfaces, and minimal wear. If the coin still shines and the design is crisp, you're off to a good start. Next, use a magnifier and check the lettering, especially on the front of the coin. Look closely at Kennedy's profile. Check the mint mark. If it's got the S from San Francisco, and it's a proof that's worth taking a second look at. Now, if you spot anything unusual like doubling or off-centering, or if you think the surface looks strange, you might have something that deserves professional grading, and that's when it's time to send it to a place like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Here's a collector tip that might make a big difference: always handle your coins by the edges. Oils from your fingers can damage the surface, and once that happens, even a rare coin can lose value. Store your coins in proper holders, preferably airtight capsules or proof cases, especially if it's a proof coin or one with possible error features. And most importantly, don't clean your coins ever. Not even gently. Cleaning damages the surface and instantly reduces the value, especially to collectors and graders who want coins exactly as they were found. Now you might be thinking, all of this is exciting, but why 1981? Why is this year still so important in the Kennedy half-dollar timeline? Well, the answer is all about timing and transition. 1981 was one of the last years where Kennedy half-dollars were produced for serious distribution before production was scaled back for mostly collector sets. That shift makes this year feel like the end of an era, and collectors always pay attention to coins that mark historical change, even if it's subtle. The 1981 Kennedy half-dollar sits in a Sweet spot: it's old enough to carry history, it's recent enough to be accessible, and it's rare enough in high grades and with errors to have real value, and that mix is powerful, especially for collectors looking to complete sets or find standout pieces that tell a deeper story. And as the market grows and more people realize the importance of these transitional years, the demand is only going up because the supply isn't getting bigger. These coins aren't being made anymore, and the number of pristine examples continues to shrink with time. Coins get lost, coins get damaged, coins get forgotten, but the ones that survive become legends in their own right. So if you've got one of these coins, hold on to it carefully, study it, treasure it, and maybe, just maybe, you're sitting on something far more valuable than you thought, not just in terms of money but in terms of history and collector interest. And that kind of discovery is what makes this hobby so deeply rewarding. And now for the part you've been waiting for. Let's talk original value. When the 1981 Kennedy half dollar was first minted, it had a simple face value of 50 cents, just half a dollar, and that's all anyone paid for it back then. But today, if you've got a high-grade version or one of those rare error types or even a deep cameo proof from San Francisco, that same coin could be worth many times its original value depending on the market and the buyer. So, thank you for coming on this journey with me through the fascinating world of the 1981 Kennedy half dollar. I hope this story opened your eyes to the possibilities waiting in your own collection. Stay curious, stay hunting, and never stop looking closely, because the next rare treasure might already be in your hands right now. Top 5, and last coin. Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever looked at a big, heavy, shiny 50-cent coin in your hand and wondered if it's actually worth more than its face value, especially if that coin has a date like 1971 on it? Now let me tell you something about that coin, because today's video is going to open your eyes to one of the most talked about half dollars in American coin history, the 1971 Kennedy half dollar. A coin that's often found in change but carries a story deeper then most people realize. Don't go anywhere and don't skip a second, because what I'm about to share with you is not just exciting, it could even be profitable, especially if you're a collector or a coin hunter or someone who just enjoys learning about American money. Because this 1971 Kennedy half dollar is not an ordinary coin. This one marks a turning point in US coinage, a year that ended an era and started a brand new chapter, and for collectors that's exactly what makes it so thrilling to study and hunt for. So grab your magnifying glass, sit back and listen carefully, because this one's got some real surprises. Let's take a step back into time for a moment. Picture the early 1970s. America was changing fast. The Vietnam War was still going on. Gas prices were rising. People were protesting in the streets. But through all of that, the United States Mint was doing something big and historic with its coins. In 1971, they made a major change to the Kennedy half dollar that many collectors today don't fully understand, and this change set the stage for a whole new kind of collecting challenge. Now here's the key detail. In 1964, when the Kennedy half dollar was first introduced, it was made out of 90% silver. That was a tribute year, a memorial year for the late President John F. Kennedy, and those silver coins are still hugely popular with collectors. Then in 1965, the Mint reduced the silver content to 40%, which lasted through 1970, but in 1971 the silver was completely removed. That's right, for the very first time the Kennedy half dollar was minted entirely in copper, nickel clad, and no longer contained any silver at all. This means the 1971 Kennedy half dollar became the very first regular issue coin in the series made without any silver, and that's why this coin matters so much. It's not just a piece of change, it's a marker in time. It's a moment when the Mint said, we're done with silver for these and we're moving forward. And because of that, the 1971 Kennedy half dollar became instantly historic. Now the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced the business strike versions that year with the D mint mark on coins from Denver and no mint mark on the ones from Philadelphia, and San Francisco produced special proof coins only for collector sets. But now comes the part that gets really exciting, and this is where your ears should perk up, because although these coins were not made with silver officially, there are a few rare examples known to exist that were mistakenly struck on leftover silver planchets. Yes, you heard that right, there are 1971 Kennedy half dollars that were accidentally made using the 40% silver blanks left over from the previous year. These are real known errors, and they are extremely rare and valuable. If you were lucky enough to find one of these, you could be holding something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and the only way to confirm this is by getting the coin tested for its metal content or weighing it precisely on a scale. Because the silver planchets weigh slightly more than the copper nickel ones, but that's not the only rare feature you can find in a 1971 Kennedy half-dollar. Collectors have also found striking errors like double die obverse, where the letters in Liberty or the words "I and God We Trust" are doubled from a misaligned strike. These kinds of doubling errors are rare and very valuable, especially when found in excellent condition and clearly visible without magnification. You might also come across an off center strike where part of the design is pushed to one side and not centered on the coin properly. That's another error that turns a basic coin into a valuable collectible, especially when the date is fully visible and the off-center percentage is dramatic and eye-catching. And sometimes coins from that year show signs of a clipped planchet, which means a small portion of the coin is missing due to the metal blank being miscut before it was struck. These are rare too and often attract attention because they're so unusual, and every collector loves a coin that looks like no other one out there. Now here's a major tip for collectors if you want to check whether your 1971 Kennedy half-dollar might be one of the rare silver planchet errors. Weigh it on a jewelry scale that measures in grams. A regular copper nickel coin from that year should weigh about 11.34 grams, but a silver one will come in closer to 11.5 grams. That small difference is enough to raise eyebrows and send your coin in for professional grading. And if it is a silver planchet error, you're looking at serious value. Also remember this: the proof coins from San Francisco will have a deep mirrored background and frosty raised details, and those were never released into circulation. They came in collector proof sets, and if yours is still in pristine condition, it could be worth well over what you think. And deep cameo versions, those with sharp frosted contrast and no blemishes, are even more desirable among proof collectors. So always check your proof coins carefully and don't assume just because it looks shiny that it isn't rare. Another big tip: keep your coins in a safe, dry environment away from moisture or fingerprints. Always handle them by the edge, especially if you suspect a coin has error features or unusually high quality surface preservation. Cleaning the coin or handling it carelessly can ruin the value, even if it has a rare feature. Grading companies like PCGS or NGC will always prefer a raw, untouched coin over one that's been tampered with. Collectors have been paying more attention to the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar in recent years, not only because of the silver error stories but also because the coin marks a new chapter in U.S. minting history. It's a transitional year, and coins from transition periods often gain strong interest as time goes on, and the more collectors focus on building full runs of Kennedy half-dollars, the more attention rare and high-grade 1971s will get, and the hunt is still active. These coins show up in rolls in banks, in flea markets, in estate sales, and even in personal collections where people don't realize what they're sitting on, and that's part of what makes this hobby so exciting. Anyone can find something rare by accident, but only those who know what to look for actually recognize its value. So take your time and always inspect every Kennedy half-dollar you come across, especially if it has the 1971 date, because you just might discover something amazing. The thrill of coin collecting is not just in owning rare coins, it's in the chase, in the research, in the moment you realize you're holding a mistake that wasn't supposed to exist, or a proof that still looks like it was made yesterday. That feeling can't be matched, and that's what drives collectors to keep searching and keep learning every single day. And don't forget, while the regular 1971 Kennedy half-dollar might have been made in the millions, it's the rare traits, the hidden silver planchets, the error strikes, and the unusually high-grade examples that separate the valuable ones from the rest. And those are still out there waiting to be discovered, maybe in your change, maybe in your old piggy bank, or maybe in that little box of coins you haven't looked through in years. And now to answer the biggest question: what was the original market value of the 1971 Kennedy half-dollar when it first came out? It was worth exactly 50 cents. That's it, just half a dollar, no more no less. But today, depending on condition, metal content, and rarity, it can be worth much more, and for the right coin in the right condition with the right error, the value can be surprising.